there, it's Gary Parrish. Welcome back. CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball Podcast, where we do sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Eye on College Basketball Podcast, it's presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button like you're Brandon Davies. You have consent. Don't forget while you're here. Also, subscribe to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. Let's get into it. There are only, I counted, 6 Saturdays remaining in this regular season. Ooh. Tomorrow, lots of fun matchups. We're going to pick some of them in the Final Four in one. But I want to start with Gonzaga, Kentucky. It's a rare February non-league game between two big brands. Tip is scheduled Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern. You can watch it on CBS. It's America's most watched network. It's the network of stars. Gonzaga needs the win to start building an at-large resume to match its still mostly strong computer numbers. Kentucky needs the win probably to remain ranked in Monday's AP poll and to avoid losing for what would be the 4th time in a 6-game span and for what would be the 2nd time in a 4-game span to an unranked opponent at home. Deadleg, first question. Who needs it more, Kentucky or Gonzaga?
Second question. This is the poll question right now. We'll give you the update later in the show. Will Gonzaga make the 2024 NCAA tournament? I'll ask you to answer that in just a couple minutes here. Who needs it more? I believe Gonzaga needs it more by the pure basis of why I just brought up the other question. Kentucky's going to the NCAA tournament. Now, its seed situation has been slippery as of late, but Gonzaga, in my estimation, has zero chance at an at-large bid if it does not go on the road and beat Kentucky in this game. If that were to happen, then it would be looking at 3 quad one opportunities remaining. I think I talked about this in the last show maybe. If it lost to Kentucky, it would still have a quad one at San Francisco, would have a quad one at St. Mary's, and then theoretically would have a quad one in the WCC semis. But if you brought that scenario into play where it doesn't get the automatic bid, 3 quad one wins against let's see, that would likely be right now. Gonzaga's numbers are, I've got them here. Their Q1 record is 0-5. So 0-6, 3-6, 3-7 in quad one because they would lose the WCC championship game in that scenario. I don't think that would be enough. They'd actually be under 500 most likely, or 500 at best in the top 2 quadrants in that situation. Right now, Gonzaga 17-6. Best wins are against San Francisco. Per the net, by the way, the best wins right now are San Francisco, Syracuse, and USC, the only 3 top 100 wins in the net that Gonzaga has, and San Francisco sits at 64th. Worst losses are at Santa Clara, at Washington, at San Diego State. So the losses aren't atrocious for the most part, but the resume just doesn't have enough right now. So Gonzaga, in my estimation, needs it more. 1, do you agree with me? 2, to the question that's currently in the poll in the live chat, feel free to vote if you're watching, obviously. Will Gonzaga make the 2024 NCAA tournament, Gary Parrish, yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
Okay, so you got them no at large, and you got them losing either in the title game or the semis.
I mean, what have we seen in this season to make you say yes?
On the same token, you have said yes to Michigan State. Have you seen enough from them to make you say yes? Do you not trust Tom? This isn't even a snarky question. It's genuine question. Do you not trust Mark Few on the same level that you trust Tom Izzo?
I don't even think about it in those terms. I simply think about it in these terms. Michigan State has shown an ability, not often, but an ability to beat a good team, to win a big game. They can do that. All right. And the rest of the schedule is favorable, but also filled with opportunities to enhance the resume. So if I'm betting on Michigan State to get there right now, I'm not betting on them to win the Big Ten tournament. I'm betting on them to get an at-large, and I'm betting on them to do well against a favorable schedule going forward. As always, we'll see. Mm-hmm. Gonzaga hasn't beat anybody any good this season. They have 0 wins over likely NCAA tournament teams, unless you want to correct me. I missed something. Right?
The only one that might qualify for, and barely here, they have a home win over Yale, and Yale might well be a quality Ivy League team that gets in the tournament. But that's not an at-large candidate at this point. So to your point, that is accurate at this stage.
Yeah. So I don't think they're going to build an at-large resume. And then I just watched St. Mary's beat them at home. I will say Gonzaga clearly has a better shot to win an automatic bid than Michigan State would have to win an automatic bid. So that's got to be factored in there somewhere. And maybe that closes the gap a little bit if you're picking between the two. But I think Michigan State still has a chance to secure an at-large resume. And I just don't think Gonzaga is going to be able to get there. Like, what you're asking me to believe is that they're going to go to Rupp Arena this weekend and win. And I'll give them a shot just because Kentucky has, been struggling lately, especially on the defensive end. But, spoiler alert, I'll probably pick Kentucky in the Final Four and 1. And that means that I think Gonzaga is going to be 0-6 in quadrant 1 by the time we go to bed on Saturday night. And then it's going to, I agree with you, mostly come down to, and if not entirely come down to, can they win the automatic bid? I think they can, but I at this point, I don't think they will.
I will lean. I'll answer the question here too. I'm going to say that Gonzaga gets in via the automatic bid, wins the WCC championship, and gets in that way. This was the case. I think I'm bringing it back right now. The year Gonzaga made the Sweet 16, I saw them in Chicago that year. They won the WCC tournament. And they got the auto bid. They were in 11. So I guess in retrospect, maybe you have to look back. It's conceivable they could have missed out on the tournament had they not got the auto bid. So the program under Mark Few has been in this situation. Mm-hmm. It's just not that common. That 15-16 team had a neutral court win over UConn that season. UConn was a top 30 KenPom team. UConn was a 9 seed in the tournament. So that team had a win early on against a quality NCAA tournament level team. It was really the only one. In addition, that season, they got swept by St. Mary's. So that's a relatively recent instance where this has happened, Parrish. But it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen a lot. In 2011, Gonzaga was a 24-9 team after winning the WCC championship. And that season, it went to the tournament as an 11 as well. So we've had, and then go back to the early 2000s. They had 1 or 2 instances as well. So Mark Few has been I'm bringing these up because Few has been in this position before. It's just been a little bit of a while here. And frankly, that 2016 Sweet 16 run, which started the current streak that Gonzaga's at, where it's made 8-9 in a row of the second weekend. That's one of the longest streaks ever, obviously, and by far the current longest active one. He's been in this spot before. Brian Hamilton of The Athletic recently took a trip out to Spokane, wrote a piece on Gonzaga being in this situation, period. And Few spoke to that a little bit as well, talked about how the fan base, understandably, has gotten a little spoiled here. So I don't think he's pressing. That said, this is a huge, huge opportunity here. And I love that we're opening the show here on Friday morning talking about this game because it's just the third time these schools have met. They're in the game 2 of a 6-game series. Gonzaga won last season. It's 1-1 all time. Kentucky won when they met back in 2008. Gonzaga's right now starting a stretch where we'll play 3 out of its next 4 on the road. And I got a couple of notes and thoughts on actually how I think the game will play out. But I do want to at least bring this up, what GP mentioned in his read off the top there. I very much love and enjoy, and I hope that the people watching the pod, listen to the show, college hoops fans, I hope you're like me in that this is a refreshing thing on this weekend. Saturday is a pretty solid slate all around. It's got really nice, just like last week, and a lot of the stuff that's watchable, it's staggered. So you're going to have stuff from noon all the way deep into midnight Eastern, which is great. It's breaking down finally. But to me, the fact that we've got a non-conference game between 2 big-time schools in an urgent situation, this was commonplace in college basketball for decades, 60s, 70s, 80s. Obviously, remember it in the 90s, and even into the 2000s. This was commonplace to get scheduling where coaches intentionally wanted to break up their league schedules by playing a notable opponent in February for not just the purpose of getting out of league play and maybe getting a little bit of a different look from a different team, but also getting a high-profile opponent that at the time, for a good while there, coaches thought that a win over a non-conference opponent could actually inflate and help their seeding or their situation with getting into the tournament. We've moved away, if you're wondering, well, why have we moved away from it? Unfortunately, because conference this really lines up, if not year for year, it's about the same with the 2010, 2011, 2012 conference realignment that we went through then, where you had Missouri's going to the SEC and Maryland going to the Big Ten, and just all that stuff, all that movement, inflated leagues. It created 18-game schedules and now 20-game schedules, and now leagues are even bigger. So the inventory is not really available. Calipari, credit to him, because Few has the flexibility with the WCC schedule to make this happen, to get the space, to get the real estate, and to get this game done in non-league play in February. I think it's awesome because, frankly, I expected when this 6-game series was announced that all these games would be either in November or December. If Gonzaga and Kentucky can manage to do this more times than not over the next 4 meetings, I think it would be wonderful because it is a throwback and we don't get it a lot. And frankly, we're almost never going to get it. You might almost have to have Gonzaga specifically, so long as it's still in WCC, involved in a game like this because it would take moving mountains at this point. And it really is a bummer. Like, it's not the worst thing, obviously, but it's a bummer that we don't get this anymore. Like, you used to get like UNLV versus Arkansas on like the first February of the season there. And that was good stuff. It was good for the sport. This is not a standalone, but is a primetime big stage spotlight game, GP. And I love the fact that we're getting it. I thought we'd be getting it under circumstances where these teams were even a bit more comfortable than they are. But the fact that they're not makes it that much more urgent, and I appreciate it that much more.
Evidence that it's possible to do stuff like this is the fact that we have this game this weekend. It can be done. You just have to make it happen. I'm not anticipating this will happen. I would like it if people would just think bigger and like more broadly about what's good for the sport. If 3 or 4 of the best leagues in the country, or 30 of the best teams in the country all said, hey, let's pick out a weekend in February where and we got to coordinate it with our leagues, but we're going to have that Saturday off. We're going to have that weekend off, and we're going to schedule a non-league game against another quality team. Like look, I'm fired up for Kansas Baylor. League games are fun too, but I like just getting something a little different so deep into the calendar. John and Mark used to do this Gonzaga Memphis,
right?
When they both had sort of similar motivations. They were both running through their leagues, Gonzaga, WCC, Memphis, CUSA, and then they could get together in January or February and test each other, launch themselves back onto the national radar. And I think both programs benefited from that. Obviously, the Kentucky doesn't need that, like Memphis needed it in that moment. But I do like that John and Mark have agreed to do this game in February. Circling back, I agree with you. I think Gonzaga needs it more for all the reasons we laid out. Kentucky does need it though, because if only because
I know. Oh, I'm aware.
It's the fans they just make it. And I'm not even blaming like the fans, like, oh, those crazy fans. I'm like, they're understandably frustrated.
Yeah.
Kentucky right now is 2-4 in quadrant 1, 3-1 in quadrant 2, 5-5 in the first 2 quadrants with a Q3 loss to Wilmington. I honestly don't know why Kentucky is ranked 17th in the AP poll, other than it's the AP poll. You can't find a single computer number that will support that. The resume does not support that. They're outside of the top 20 in every notable computer. Their strength of record is 33rd. Do you realize Gonzaga is actually higher in KenPom right now than Kentucky?
Yeah.
Gonzaga's 22nd, UK's 24th. And that's among the reasons KenPom only projects Kentucky to be a 3-point favorite at home. I imagine the number will be a little bigger, but that is what KenPom is projecting right now. John Calipari has pivoted a little bit from we've got to be better defensively to we just got to get a little better defensively. He's sort of like, moved the goalpost a little bit, which here's what he said. I'm paraphrasing. Tell me what you make of this. Because right now, as you know, you've detailed it, Kentucky is excellent offensively. They really can score, but they're 102nd in adjusted defensive efficiency, according to KenPom. Bad defensive team. So John's new point is like, hey, we don't have to, go be classic Virginia on the defensive end of the court. We just have to be a little bit better. We just have to be okay defensively. Like, just get 5 more stops in a 40-minute game against Tennessee and you can win it. Just get 2 more stops in a 45-minute game against Florida and you can win it. Do you buy that?
Not that simplistic. Now, he might think that because he's, living through every possession. I think it's got to be a little bit more pronounced. How about this? It's got to be a little bit more pronounced than that. Particularly against the good teams, because I've seen it now too often, and the efficiency it's going in the wrong direction. So I think it's got to be more than a little bit. It's not going to be a wholesale change. Kentucky fans, I think, at this point would accept the fact that it is very rare. Not to say that it's never happened, but it's not common for a team to get to basically this point in the season and show you that it is a pedestrian team defensively, and to change that, not even to being elite, but being aggressively different and much better. It very rarely happens. We have so many games in. Now, teams can get to this point in the season, be pedestrian, and bump themselves up maybe a stage or two, and I think that can be the case with Kentucky. But it would be really something remarkable if Calipari could actually get this team. And by the sounds of it, he's just not. He knows that's not going to be the case. And so I don't think the difference between them getting back on track and suddenly winning the SEC is just being one play here, one play there. I personally don't think it's that. I think it's a little bit more detailed than that. But take the steps when you can get them, and if those steps are all that you need in this kind of game against Gonzaga, that particularly because it's Gonzaga and Gonzaga's on the road, it should be able to allow you to get there. I know you've got a thought to continue with, but I will note this: Kentucky leads the country in points per game, 89.5. It's had how many games here has it had above 90 points? Because it is rolling. It's had 13 games over 90 points this season. That's the most in the country. Arizona has 11. Bama has 10. Indiana State has 10. Everyone else has 9 or fewer. Kentucky with 13 games of 90 or more. Gonzaga has been in that category many seasons recently, but it has not been that way this season. It has hit 90 or more a few times, but it has been mostly against bad teams. Pine Bluff, among the bottom 20 in the sport. Jackson State, hovering around 300 in Ken Palm. San Diego is actually a quality team, and Gonzaga did drop 101 on them, 100 plus twice. But it's not offensively what it's been. And I'm curious in this game if Gonzaga and Kentucky gets into a race to 90 and what that looks like for either team, because that has benefited Kentucky a lot. And maybe it will in this one because Gonzaga doesn't have that hammer home offensive guy. Watson's been good. It is intriguing. So a little bit of a long-winded answer to your question, GP, but particularly with the defense in this game, and will Kentucky want to be in another race to 90? Is Gonzaga the right opponent to choose to do that against?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that if Gonzaga is going to go on the road and upset Kentucky, they're going to have to score. Like, this ain't going to be one you go on the road and you win it 68-65. Like, you're going to have to go score. And Gonzaga is coming off of a game where they just scored 96. Now, it was 96 against Portland at home. That's different than trying to get 96 against Kentucky at Rupp. I think. We'll see. But I don't know if you watched any of the game Gonzaga Portland the other night. It was a blowout.
It was a blowout. It was on CBS Sports Network.
Right.
I checked in a little bit. It wasn't even close. Portland is 9-16, folks.
Right. So John Rothstein was there on the sideline, and it was hilarious. Did you notice what was happening?
I actually no, I did not. Okay. I quad boxed at YouTube TV, but I did not have money on.
So it's sort of like inside baseball stuff. The reason I'm home this week, we didn't have studios in New York this week.
So I know, and they shipped them all the way out to a Portland Gonzaga game.
But do you know why they did that? I mean, I haven't talked to anybody about this.
I don't.
What Ross did, but like, we might need you to fill until we can get to like 10 o'clock window.
Oh, I noticed this. Are you talking about postgame? It was the longest postgame interview that's ever happened. He did Few, and then he did Watson, then he did Braden Huff. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, the game went like an hour 40. Rothstein had to fill 20 minutes.
I didn't know if it was that long. I did notice. I noticed that he because I brought up the sound because I was like, hey, let's see what Rothstein's got to ask a few here, and he had some good questions. And then they brought in Anton Watson, and then I switched to another game, and then I was like, they got now he's doing Braden Huff, and like the building has cleared out behind him. There's no one, and I was like, what's going? And then I noticed, this is kind of inside baseball stuff, but then I noticed that they threw it out to the Bellagio where the sets are for the Super Bowl, and Zucker was hosting all. So that was a funny moment, and he was just he was feeling time. By the way, Braden Huff had 25. Yeah. He might be a factor in this Kentucky. So I did pick up on that. Yeah.
I was texting Rothstein the whole time. I was like, keep going. You got to get us to 10 o'clock, whatever time it was.
Yeah.
So that was, again, inside baseball, but he had to, so it was a long post game. And among the things he asked Mark about, this game against Kentucky was like, what do you have to do to go win one on the road, in a place like Rupp Arena? He said, shooting the ball the way we just shot the ball would help, because Gonzaga was 15 of 33 from three. That's 45.5%. I don't know. They got to go 15 to 33 from three, but they're going to have to shoot it like that to go into Rupp and win. They're going to have to go score points. And also, Mark did point out to Rothstein something that you noted earlier, which is we've been here before. Everybody's freaking out, but we've been here before. He seemed more at ease about the current state of things with the Zags than I am, because although I just predicted, I don't think they're going to get to the NCAA tournament based on what I've seen this season. I want them to. One of my favorite ideas is that Mark Few could maybe retire someday without ever having missed the NCAA tournament. Like, that streak is intact right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm rooting like crazy for the Zags, not necessarily at Kentucky. Don't put that on a message board, but just broadly speaking, to be in the NCAA tournament. I like that streak existing, but just to bottom line it, I think you're right. They probably do need to go win at Kentucky this weekend. And despite what we've seen recently, that's a big ask. One last thing on the Kentucky defense, then we'll move on.
Okay.
I don't know if it's true that if we just get a couple more stops a game, everything will be fine. I agree with you. It's a little more complicated than that. I still like that John is framing that. He's very good about these types of things. And I think sometimes when something seems like such a big task, if you can make it smaller and make it seem more manageable, it makes it easier to wrap your head around it. Perhaps poor analogy, but imagine you ain't put up laundry in 3 weeks and now you just got a big pile of clothes. Every day you look at it and it's like, I don't even know how I can get that back to where it needs to be. It seems impossible. But if somebody says, hey, can you just go in there, just get the towels? Can you just get the towels, fold them, put them in the closet? Then everything will be better. You're like, okay, I'd knock out the towels real quick. That's not a big deal. I'll do that. It feels a little more manageable. So John stopped trying to tell his players, we've got to do this. We've got to do that. We can't make this mistake. We can't. It's like, all right, because clearly that's not working. They are what they are. But if you can tell them, hey, we don't have to be a million different things differently. Let's just get just a little bit. Right now we're getting X amount of stops per game. Can we get 5 more? If we can get 5 more, we can win these games. And then we'll be on our track to wherever we're going. I don't know if it's an accurate representation of reality, but I do think it's smart to try to frame things differently for your players, because clearly what they had been doing up until this point, it hasn't worked.
I got a note on this game, but I'm going to save it because we are picking this in the Final Four and 1. Results of the poll to this point in the show. Will Gonzaga make the 2024 NCAA tournament? Get in by any means necessary, at large or automatic bid. Right now, no leads the poll. No, 55%. Yes, 45%. Would be the first time, obviously, in a generation. We'll pick this game in just a little bit.
Arizona won a thriller late Thursday. Too bad it wasn't on TV. We'll talk about Tommy Lloyd's Wildcats next, but first, let's get a word from our partners.
The biggest event in sports is coming to the entertainment capital of the world. CBS Sports HQ will have you covered every minute, getting you set with all the critical analysis you need. Ready, set, Vegas.
Final score, Arizona 105, Utah 99 in triple overtime. I read that it was on the Pac-12 network, but the Pac-12 network does not exist. It's a lie pushed on the American public for years. One of the greatest scams ever pulled on citizens of this country. Deadleg, I know you didn't see it. Nobody saw it.
I said, I saw it.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Nobody saw it.
I'll tell you how I saw it. I had the old score bug on the CBS Sports app up, and halftime, it's still interesting. I'm watching a little bit of FAU, UAB. We'll get to that in just a second. Checking in on Hall of Fame honors show. Got the Devin Hester jersey on today. My guy into the Hall of Fame. Big time stuff. Steve McMichael as well. Shouts to Mongo. Bears. So got a couple of Bears in the Hall of Fame on Thursday night. So I'm doing all that, and I'm like,
remember that night we went out with Brian Urlacher's brother?
I do. That did happen. That absolutely happened. Trivia time. Can you name the hotel?
Yeah, no, I can.
You can? All right.
Was it? Was it?
What was it?
Tell me, what was it?
It was the Encore.
Really?
It was the Encore. Yep.
Okay. I don't remember that at all.
I'm not shocked. Anyway, shouts to Devin Hester, obviously due to get into the Hall of Fame. I love seeing that. So the point is this. At a certain point, it's mid-second half, and I'm like, this game is still close. All right, I got to see if I can find this game streaming, because I don't have Pac-12 Network anymore. I used to have it. I don't have it. I know. The whole thing. I know. Watch on your refrigerator. We got all the tweets. I got it. So I go on a journey to places that require, me to Dawn, hazard equipment, Pac-12 network internet stream, Arizona, Utah, February 8th. Like, so I eventually I peer around corners and dive into caves and slip down rabbit holes, and I find one. That's got a couple of pop-up ads on it that I can't X out of the screen. So about 27% of my viewing is blocked off for the entire time. But I got the game, and I did watch this game. And it was an awesome watch. It was the first. It went to 3 overtimes. It was the first time Arizona got to 2 overtimes in that building since 2003. Speaking of Gonzaga, when Arizona beat Blake Stepp and the Zags, 9-seeded Gonzaga in the second round of the 2003 tournament. Just an awesome tournament game, and a great building, by the way, Huntsman Center. That is a great spot for the NCAA tournament. And they wind up pulling it off, GP. Arizona sweeps Utah. I'll tell you what I got here, because no chance in hell you watched this game. I mean, you just watched a score refresh on a phone, and then you were stuck there. So,
no, I woke up at 4:30 this morning to find out the result.
All right. Oh, you were done. You were done before it went final.
I think I was done before it went final. I was what went final first, Arizona or Florida Atlantic?
Arizona by about 30 minutes, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. FAU took a while. Yeah.
I know I fell asleep during Florida Atlantic.
Okay.
And I might have fallen asleep during Arizona. It's hard to remember sometimes. Arizona
led 41-25 at the half. I thought Utah was going to win the game before it tipped even. But Utah came back from a 16-point halftime deficit. Brandon Carlson had a big night. He's a really good player. 27 points, 15 boards. Davon Smith had a triple-double for the Utes. He had 14 points, 11 boards, 10 dimes. But big ups to Pelle Larsson. 27 points, 7 boards, 8 assists. And he was the best player on the floor for Arizona from what I watched in this game. He had a couple of want to have it back moments. He missed key free throws that could have helped clinch it earlier. But nevertheless, he came up big. Umar Ballo had 16 rebounds. Caleb Love had 19 points and 10 boards. I think he had he shoot like 25% from the field. But you know what? It was so Caleb Love. He had a couple of shots that kind of were the dagger, the nail in the coffin, and he came up big there. So a big win for Zona. Love, by the way, on the road so far this season, he's averaging 21 points, and he's been a guy that they've been able to rely on for the most part when they're playing away from their building, which is a big thing. Coaches will tell you, when we're going, not just that it's hard to win on the road, we all know that. But if you've got guys who actually aren't rattled in that environment, and Caleb Love just isn't, he came up big again. But Larson was the best player on the floor there. Utah still got a chance to play its way into the tournament, but this was a big missed opportunity. It was a wonderful game. It's a genuine tragedy that this thing is on the Pac-12 network, and I'm fighting through the dark internet to try and watch this damn thing. But I did pull it up, and I did enjoy what I watched there, and it was a quality game with a great environment, and Utah nearly stole it. But this one might be the one they come to regret, because if they don't get in, this might have been the one that would have flipped it the other way.
I submit the Pac-12 championship was decided last night in Utah.
I agree with this. Yes. You think that this result is kind of keeps Arizona on the pathway to a number 1 seed in the Pac-12 tourney?
Yeah. I mean, they're 9-3 in the Pac-12 now with 8 games remaining. And so, they've only got a 1-game lead over Washington State and Oregon, but Washington State and Oregon still both have to go to Tucson. And I think this is accurate. It's more likely that Arizona will win the Pac-12 by multiple games than it is that Arizona won't win the Pac-12.
Say it again.
It's more likely that Arizona will win the Pac-12 by multiple games than it is that somebody other than Arizona will win the Pac-12.
Yeah, that Arizona finished second or worst.
How about this?
I agree with that.
And so let's just fast forward a bit. Tommy Lloyd's about to finish his 3rd year as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes the way it appears it's going to go, he's going to have 2 Pac-12 titles to go with a 2nd place finish. He's already got 2 Pac-12 tournament titles. He's already got a National Coach of the Year award. It's genuinely one of the greatest starts to a head coaching career in the history of college basketball.
It is. We'll talk about this in March. He's 2-2 in the tournament, and it will become a thing, a stigma, if he can't at least get zoned into the Sweet 16. So just got to get out of the first weekend, because with all that success comes big expectations, and obviously last year got bumped out by Princeton. So we'll see on that. But yeah, I agree with that. Have some stuff on Wazoo in the weekend preview on the other side of the break. But that was a big win, a gutty win. Man, Utah fought back, and it should have had it there. There are many people in the chat saying you should switch your VPN to a location outside the United States. Then you can actually watch it through YouTube. I guess YouTube Canada or something like that. I was close to trying to get that way done. I'm aware of that, but I pulled it out all the same. I knew that Parrish, there was not even a joke, I knew there's 0% chance that Parrish was going to be able to watch this game. And when it was close, I was like, well, if Arizona loses, like, I want to speak to what I'm actually seeing here. And so there we go. Other game on Thursday that you were asleep for, FAU. And I did think, I thought both ranked teams on the road were going to lose on Thursday. Only one of them did. And Florida Atlantic was that team. It also, got caught in a big time environment, and got caught in a bonus session game. They lost in OT 76-73. They almost won it in regulation. So I don't even know if you've seen the highlights, but Blazers had a chance to win it on their final possession of regulation. Shot missed. FAU was in transition, opted not to call a timeout, which I liked as it was playing out. I was like, don't call timeout. They didn't. They had a tricky lob, but a catchable lob to Vlad Golden, who did not corral it. Time expired. You run that play, you run that play again like 10 times. I think Golden probably snatches it and throws it down 8 out of 10 times. So a little bit of an unlucky break. Golden actually did not have himself a good night. He was 8 points, 3 of 8 shooting. He had, I want to say, he probably gave away, and sometimes you just have a tough night on the road. Like, I get it. He probably gave away like 6 to 8 points, either buckets he should have had or buckets given up. I will give a big shout to Yaxel Lendeborg. Yeah, you heard me. Yaxel Lendeborg of UAB, 6'9" junior. Guy went for 17 points and 21 rebounds in this game, including a couple of huge ones in overtime where UAB, I think he got 2 offensive boards on one possession, and either on the previous one or the one after that, he also had another key offensive board to give UAB another shot to get them the win there. So credit to Andy Kennedy. FAU has never won at UAB. It is 0-8 all time. Tough scene for FAU, trying to ensure that it's going to be wearing home whites in the first round and dodge that 8-9 game like it had to play out of last year. It's now 18-5, 8-2 in the league. That means South Florida, who we brought up on the last show, alone in the American Athletic Conference ledger atop all others at 9-1. FAU is 8-2 there. Where do you have the Owls as of Friday morning in your top 25-1 by virtue of losing? Was this a quad 1 loss, GP? I think
quad 2 loss.
I thought it was quad 2. I didn't know if UAB did enough to flip overnight or not.
It's almost a quad 3 loss.
Oh, it's that low?
Well, UAB is 123 in the net.
Okay.
If they get outside
15-8 overall for UAB.
If they get down to 136, that's quad 3.
Okay.
FAU's out.
They're out. Okay,
out.
Look at you. That was remind everyone, where'd you have them in the preseason?
Oh, I don't remember. I can't remember.
I think you had him number 4. Keep going.
I don't know if that's right. I can't think. I don't know. I don't remember. We'll have to look that up someday.
Okay.
Remind me to look that up someday.
People will.
I gotta get them out of there. They're 6-3 in the first 2 quadrants, but they also have a quadrant 3 loss and a quadrant 4 loss.
Yeah.
And that UAB loss could flip to quadrant 3 if the Blazers go just a little bit the wrong direction. They're now outside of the top 25 in the net, outside of the top 25 at KenPom. I think they're good. I still think they can get in the tournament and win games, but you can't keep losing games like this in a league like this without damaging your ranking and, by extension, your projected seed. Jerry Palm had them as a 6 seed, before the loss at UAB. You tell me, you're the expert on seed line bumps. Is that a seed line bump?
That's a seed line loss.
Oh,
seed line loss. Bump is seed line
Bumps
bump.
up, loss down.
Seed line loss. Yeah, the seed line loss. And I haven't looked at every resume right now. To me, when I look at this, that looks like an 8 seed right now. To be honest, that does.
Hey, the good news about being an 8 seed though is that if you win your first game, you might get to play a 16 in the round of third too.
That's
you know, got to look at the bright side, Deadleg.
You are. That is. It's only happened twice, but yes, that is true. That there is that potential that could be the case there. So I
got Florida Atlantic out, and I have inserted in at number 26.
Wazoo.
They're really close. Okay. I've got them really close. I went with Clemson. I've now got Virginia 25, Clemson 26. But to your point, Washington State's right there. Like I really have Washington State very close to the top 25 and 1.
We'll get to Washington State in the weekend preview. And yes, I noticed some folks, we last podcasted Wednesday morning. The biggest game of Wednesday night was Auburn, Alabama. We'll talk Auburn. I'll mention Auburn's game this weekend, and we'll give the Tigers a little bit of love. You got a big time win. We're not going to ignore your Tigers. It's just been a couple of days since that went down. So we'll get to that as well. GP, unless you got anything else, we might as well get to the Final 4 and 1, right?
Oh, but man, you kidding me? I can't wait to get to the Final 4 and 1. You're looking at a man who went 5-0 last week. Can I replicate my success? We'll see. We'll see.
Partner, just go. Partners, let's go.
But first, come on, bring me a partner.
Partners, let's go.
After the confetti falls, head on over to CBS Sports Network for exclusive post-game coverage.
I don't want to brag. The last thing I want to do is brag.
First thing you want to do, and this is the third straight show. I didn't realize it was this bad, though. Go ahead and tell everyone what we did.
I don't want to brag.
Say it already.
Of the Final 4 and 1 presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, make every moment more. So, Nada, if you could open your mic and please update us on the rec. I don't want people to have to hear it from me because I fear it comes across the wrong way, like I'm doing a little too much patting on the back. So, Nada, if you could open your mic and just update us on the records, please.
Well, GP, you went 5-0, and you are 37, 27, and 2. You are 10 games over 500.
Woo, boy!
Congratulations!
Thank you. That sound. What is Deadleg's record?
He went 1-4 and is 34, 30, and 2.
You lose.
That feels insurmountable.
So should
That's me.
It feels insurmountable, but we'll see. Game 1, Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Number 10 Illinois at Michigan State inside the Drew Neitzel Center. You can watch it on CBS. It's America's most watched network of stars. KenPom has it Michigan State -1.
If I'm gonna get back on my groove here, I'm gonna need that music just a little bit louder, Nada. I gotta hear it. Illinois, Michigan State. Illinois beat.
Feels insurmountable.
Famous last words. Illinois beat Michigan State earlier this season, January 11th, 71-68 in Champaign. Couple keys to the game here. How about this? Illinois has had 86 or more points in 5 of its last 6 games. Can it get that done again in the Drew Neitzel Center? Turnovers are something to watch in this one. Illinois' opponents, on average, they're only giving it up 9.4 times per game. Okay. Michigan State is averaging just 10 turnovers per game. So Sparty's going to have a chance if those trends continue. If Illinois can't force the issue, MSU takes care of the ball. Tyson Walker with another big game here, potentially. Let's see what they can get done there. From a resume standpoint, Michigan State against top 50 net teams. Here's what they've done this season. Number 4, Arizona, loss. 13, Illinois, loss. 14, Baylor, win. 15, Wisconsin, lost twice. 20th, Duke, loss. 22nd, Indiana State. Boy, look at that game, and look at how that's helping the old resume for Michigan State at this point. That was a win for Sparty there. So keep an eye on the boards as well in this one. Michigan State needs to keep Illinois off of the offensive glass. It will ruin them if they cannot do that. And this is the Sparty team that's coming off a loss at Minnesota. They only scored 56 points in that game. It was the lowest they've had this season. And Yeah, if you're a Michigan State fan, you're just hoping for some sort of plot twist because you're 1-6 in your last 7 games against ranked opponents. Illinois obviously ranked. I will pick the Fighting Illini on the road in this game to win outright, or as we like to say on the pod, straight up.
I told you earlier, I think Michigan State's going to somehow, some way get to the NCAA tournament. I think they're going to need an at-large bid to do it. And that doesn't make this a must-win game, but, buddy, it'd be nice to have it. It'd be nice to have it. Mm-hmm. I think they need this more than Illinois needs this. They'll obviously have home court advantage inside the Drew Neitzel Center. I'll take Michigan State at home over Illinois.
All
Game
right,
2.
That's what I like to see. Let's go.
Game 2 Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Mountain situation starts right there.
Game 2 Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern. It's Gonzaga at number 17, Kentucky, inside Aaron Harrison Arena. That's who started over Devin Booker at Kentucky. You can watch it on CBS. It's America's most watched network. It's the network of stars. KenPom has it Kentucky -3.
It worked for 38 games. What do you want from them, man? All right. All right. How about this?
Anytime you could put Devin Booker on the bench for Aaron Harrison, you got to do that.
You got to do it. You got to do it. On the Gonzaga side, I mentioned earlier, keep an eye on Braden Huff. He just went for 25 against Portland. It was Portland. But he's had 3 games this season with 20 or more. I think they're going to need that from him. Anton Watson, his last 8 games, he's averaging 16.6 points, shooting 74% from the field, 45.5% from 3, and with 8 rebounds. Anton Watson has been better than people realize, but because Gonzaga doesn't have a notable win, people aren't taking notice. Maybe this is the game where he is just a stud and carries Gonzaga to win, and then we're like, well, damn, they do have a dude. Because Watson is a dude, but he's not, the outright offensive alpha that I think people need. He's also very, very good defensively. So his presence on that end of the floor could be huge here. Kentucky, right now, did you realize that it's shooting 41.1% from three-point range this season? Where do you think that ranks nationally?
Top 5.
It is number 2 in the country, 41.1%. Kentucky and Baylor are your best three-point shooting teams in the country. We will talk about Baylor in the next game. Spoiler alert there. Meantime, Gonzaga opponents, and keep in mind, I understand the WCC factors into this, their opponents are shooting 31.5% from three-point range, and Gonzaga's also played some high-level teams. So there's a 10-point percentage difference there. Let's go a little fun over-under here. Over-under 36.5% three-point shooting from Kentucky in this game on its home floor.
Under.
Ooh, I thought you'd say over. I'm gonna say over. So I'll go over 36.5% from 3 for Kentucky. You will say under. Keep this in mind. Kentucky is 10-1 this season when it makes at least 40% of its threes, which would, stand to reason. It's good shooting. But when it's under 40%, it's 6-5 this season. So under 40% from three-point range for Kentucky, 6-5 record. 6-5 record when it doesn't get to 40. It's got 1 loss when it's hit 40.
The idea that they've got to get to 40% from 3 to win is insane.
That's what the data shows to this point. So keep that in mind when you watch this. Kentucky getting to 40%. They should win. Now they've won without doing it, but it's a 6-5 record when they haven't hit 40%.
That's a good little stat. You might want to take that to HQ.
I might have to. Gonzaga gets it done more frequently inside the arc, and we'll see if they rely on that here, if they kind of get into a trading three-point game with them. I do have another good Gonzaga stat for you in this realm. Gonzaga is 14-1 this season when they get at least 54.5% shooting inside the three-point line. And when they are under 54.5% in two-point shooting, they're 3-5 this season. So to recap, Kentucky wins when it gets 40% or better from three-point range. Gonzaga wins when it's 54.5% or better from two-point range. That in mind, I will take Kentucky to win and to cover on its home floor. And if neither of those things happen, particularly the win, it's going to be calamitous in Lexington, undoubtedly, because you got a Gonzaga team that hasn't proven anything yet. This is, it could be tempestuous with the loss here. I will go with the Wildcats to get it done.
I'm about to blow your mind.
Okay, let's go.
Kentucky will shoot below 40% from 3. Gonzaga will shoot above 54.5% from 2.
Okay.
And Kentucky will win the game.
Okay, there we go. It may very well Won't surprise me if that's the case. It will break the trend.
I can't trust a team that's 0-5 in quadrant one and hasn't beaten a likely NCAA tournament team all season just go in to Rupp Arena on a Saturday in February and win. They might. I hope it's an awesome game. I can't wait to watch it. But I will also take Kentucky -3. And as we noted earlier, I think that number will be bigger than that. I think it'll come in at 4.5.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
It'll be a little bigger than that. So we'll both lay Kentucky -3. Game 3 Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Number 13 Baylor at number 4 Kansas inside Gasnola Fieldhouse. You can watch it on ESPN. Kimpom has it. Kansas -3. Ooh, it's another little number. This number will also be bigger.
It's got to be, right? I mean, -3 Kansas at home against Baylor. This is the game day game, by the way. I got some good news. I debated not telling anyone this. But I'll just give it up. I'm feeling generous here on a Friday.
Nick Saban's going to game day?
He is going to game day.
I heard that.
Heard from Mr. Schulman. And he did not know how he missed us talking about this a week ago, as the Crowfire referenced. Guaranteeing us that it will happen when Duke Carolina have the rematch, because that will almost certainly be a game day game. So,
God bless that man.
So keep an eye on that one. Yeah. That will be going into the soundboard drop when that happens. So that's big time stuff from Dan right there. We appreciate you. This is the game day game. It's the biggest matchup of the weekend, arguably. Baylor at Kansas. Baylor's won 3 straight. Kansas hasn't lost in this building since January 21 of last year. It's been more than a year. That was that weird TCU blowout. Don't know if you remember that at all, but I
do remember that.
It was a crazy one.
I don't remember where I had Florida Atlantic in the preseason, but I definitely remember that TCU game.
You had FAU 4th in the preseason. I tried to talk you off it, but you refused to do so.
I remember that.
Here's where we're at now. In years past, we had talked about when occasions would come up when Baylor would play Kansas at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Remember what the default talking point was?
Oh, I've got it. On February 1st, 2017,
yes,
Kansas beat
you
Baylor. You
got this at the ready? Wow.
Oh, I'm ready to go, baby.
Okay, let's go.
After Kansas beat Baylor at Allen Fieldhouse on February 1st, 2017, Scott Drew dropped to 0-10 at Allen Fieldhouse, while Bill Self in that same moment's record inside that same building was 217-9. Scott Drew in that moment had lost more games at Allen Fieldhouse than Bill Self had ever lost at Allen Fieldhouse. It's no longer true. I believe Bill now has 17 losses at Allen Fieldhouse.
Oh, then that my notes right. If it's 17, okay, I had 16. If it's 17, this doesn't apply. If it is 16, then Scott Drew has 15 losses at Allen Fieldhouse, which meant that if Kansas were to beat Baylor on Saturday, if that was true, but it might not. It might be 2 away. It would have been a situation where Scott Drew and Bill Self would have the same amount of losses at Allen Fieldhouse.
Which is just wild, because this isn't like...
That is a joke. Are you kidding me?
We're doing Bill Self against some guy at some... Like, Scott Drew is going to be a Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame coach. He's won a national title, and he is 1-15 all time in Allen Fieldhouse.
Just unreal. I hope it's 16, because I want it to be back on level.
By the way,
level.
you realize Baylor is 1 in a million all time. They've only won once.
I know, they've only won once. Clemson is better all time at Carolina than Baylor is at Fog Allen Fieldhouse.
When I was going back and looking at this stuff up, I found the game story from that day when Baylor finally won at Kansas.
I think it was 2020, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Just before.
Just keep going. Just keep
before.
Going. Yes.
Woo! What a time that was. And after the game, they asked Scott about, like, what did it mean? What does it mean for Baylor to get its first ever win in Allen Fieldhouse? And he said, I was hoping I would be a part of it. But you never know.
That's good stuff right there. I like that. I would think this line's gonna be bigger.
Yeah.
Baylor's issues stem from its defense. again, this is the number one, 41.2% from 3-point range in the country. Kentucky's 41.1. They're essentially tied. Best 3-point shooting teams in the nation. Baylor has a really good offense. Its defense isn't as bad as Kentucky, but they've got a lot of similar issues there. Baylor relies on its veterans just a little bit more overall, and Ray J. Dennis is a key player. He's going to have to show up big in this game. A week ago, I told you Baycott was going to be a key to victory over Duke, and this one I do think it's Ray J. Dennis. Having a big-time game from three, distributing, being on the floor for nearly 40 minutes. But I also think, like, the roles of, like, Yves Missi, like, can he be a serious contributor and help shut down Dickinson? Like, they're going to need an all-around effort and hope to get lucky, and I mean lucky, by having any of Kansas's players get into foul trouble in that building with a team with not a lot of depth. I'm not going there. I will have Kansas winning, and I'll give you a score here. I'll go Kansas wins this one 79-72.
I'm also going to take Kansas. How about this? Kansas -3 or lower against literally anybody inside Allen Fieldhouse, and other than the Celtics maybe, and I'll probably have to take them. So I'll take Kansas. But Baylor's sneaky good, man. And maybe sneaky is the wrong word. I guess my point is,
I had him top 5 preseason, by the way. You took FAU, I took Baylor. Keep going.
Damn it.
You're welcome.
Like, we spend so much time talking about the tip top of the sport, right? And that's UConn and Purdue and Houston, and Kansas gets in there, and Carolina gets in there, and Tennessee gets in there. And Baylor has never really cracked that conversation. But this season, Baylor's 9-5 in the first 2 quadrants. They have 5 quadrant 1 wins, 0 losses outside of the first 2 quadrants. I've got them up to 10th in the top 25 and 1. And I just filed my latest mock draft for the 2024 NBA draft. Obviously, they've got, Ray J. Dennis, as you mentioned, but like 2 projected first-round picks in Missy and Jacoby Walter. So this is not only a good basketball team; it's a talented basketball team with likely, multiple likely first-round picks on it. Like, I just think because, and correct me, maybe I just like didn't. But we talk about all these teams at the tip top of the sport, and Baylor just has never quite been able to crack that conversation. I mean, let them go win at Allen Fieldhouse this weekend. They'll crack it. They'll probably lead Saturday night's podcast.
I mean, I had that conversation in the preseason. You just didn't want to have it with me. So,
I was focused on the Owls.
You're welcome to join me whenever you'd like. That being said,
I'm here now.
That being said, we both have Kansas winning this game. Nada has messaged us no game 3 roll. Parrish has not picked a different game outcome for me in game 3 in like 5 straight weeks. So I think he has now gone entirely reverse, and he is mandating he picks the exact same outcome as me for game 3. This is how
you make it insurmountable.
Yeah, you're trying to game the system. Trust me, I'm aware of that. What's the next game?
It's just like the Big 12 has done with the net rankings.
Explain to the audience why you picked this as game 4, by the way, because this feels like cruel and unusual punishment. I'm genuinely curious why you picked this game of all the games for game 4.
I mean, it's the team that's number 1 in the top 25 and 1 against a blue blood program from its own state. Game 4 is Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's Indiana at number 2 Purdue in Etuan Moore Arena. You can watch that on Fox. KenPom has it. Hold up, this cannot be right.
Yes, it is. So why'd you pick this game?
This can't be right.
It is.
Double check.
Tell people what the number is.
No way a blue blood program is a 19-point underdog to anybody ever. That can't be right. Delete that 1 and make it Purdue -9. That's disrespectful to the Hoosiers.
19.
19?
Purdue won by 21 at Assembly Hall earlier this season, by the way.
What?
So the number is smaller than Purdue's road win.
You know how I feel about Purdue. I've got them number 1 in the top 25.
What I'm about to say is entirely speculative in nature. I want to be clear on this. This is not. This was a conversation with someone in the industry I had on Thursday, just by coincidence, among other things that they brought it up. And they wondered if Indiana doesn't make the tournament, which it's not tracking to do, and if it just kind of ends on this trend here, where Indiana had to rally the other night to win at Ohio State. Ohio State's completely imploded. That's actually what we were talking about, was Ohio State and Chris Holtmann and all this stuff, and what's going on there, and will he hold on to his job? They've got an AD change, and this person kind of wondered aloud, Indiana has been doing a lot of losing lately. if they continue to do this, would Indiana try and move off of Woodson because they might be terrified that Dusty May will go anywhere else and then they can't get him, kind of deal? I don't know. But
Indiana fans told me Mike Woodson's the guy. All right, and then I'm crazy. So I don't know if
I honestly didn't think, and still don't think, that this is going to be Woodson's last season. Although Greg Doyle wrote a pretty, I don't want to say it was scathing, but it was a takedown after the home loss last week against Penn State. It's really like I think has prompted a lot of this. And Doyle's voice obviously carries a ton of weight in that state. He's a former national columnist for CBS Sports. So that's just intriguing. I don't know if we'll get to that point or not.
What do they want from Mike Woodson? I mean, the guys, they're still safely in the top 4 in the state of Indiana, according to KenPom. They've fallen back a little bit. It's
96th. They're 96th, and I saw this from, actually mentioning Purdue GP. I saw this from Cobra Stats, which is an independent stat fella that does a lot of Purdue-based stats. This might not be true now in the moment because they're 96, but as of like 5 days ago, Indiana was like 101 or 100. I think Indiana was 100 and Michigan might have been 101 in KenPom, and it was the lowest ranking for each of those programs at KenPom in the past decade. Like this week was their low. It was the nadir, which is obviously tough stuff there. I'm going to take Indiana to cover in this game, by the way. 19 is a lot. I understand they're going to Mackey. Purdue's powerhouse. Purdue should win with ease. 19 is just a big number. It is a rivalry game. Probably come to regret it, but whatever. I will take Mike Woodson's Hoosiers to get inside of 19 points. I wonder what the actual line on this is going to be. 19. That feels bigger than the line. I'll guess the line's like 16 and a half. And I still might even take Indiana there. But if it's 19, give me the Hoosiers.
Indiana State, KenPom rankings, Purdue's number 2. Indiana State's 34, Butler 49, Indiana 96. So still in the top 100, Got to look at the positive, dead leg. If you're curious, past 3 years, Mike Woodson started 30th at KenPom in year 1, finished 48th. 12th at KenPom in year 2. That's where they started, finished 30th. And this year started 50th at KenPom, currently 96th. So that's moving the wrong direction in 3 straight years. I got to root for the top 25 and 1. You know that. You know that about me. Purdue is number 1 in the top 25 and 1 because Purdue is a national best 15-2 in the first 2 quadrants with 8 quadrant 1 wins. Number 1 in strength of record, number 1 in KPI, number 1 in the top 25 and 1, ahead of UConn in every computer we've ever referenced on this podcast, but still behind the Huskies in the AP poll. I'll take Purdue. I'll lay the 19.
All right, look at you. Okay, that's got a little spice to it. Houston, by the way, still number 1 at KenPom. Let's take a tour around the weekend here before we do our and 1 game as usual. Friday night's got a pair of good games. Number 18, Dayton at VCU, 7 Eastern, ESPN 2. Good little tests for the Flyers there. VCU has done well in first year under Ryan Odom, and Siegel Center is going to be jumping. That's a great Friday night 8-10 affair. Dayton. If I was GP, I wouldn't drop Dayton out of the top 25 on with the loss there. They are so highly ranked. A reminder, they're in GP's top 10. I would think that's not going to be the case. One road loss against a non-projected tournament team is not going to drop them out of the rankings there. That being said, if they were to lose at VCU, they're 18th in the AP poll. Don't trust the AP voters. We'll wait and see on that. The other one is 8 Eastern on our air, CBS Sports Network. Mountain West, it's every damn week, every damn night practically. San Diego State is 24th in the country. It plays at Nevada, and Nevada with a home win here would bolster its situation even more, get itself maybe into that 10 seed territory, maybe even borderline back end of a 9 line with a win there. 2 good Friday night games. Now let's look at Saturday. Games not on the final 4 and 1. Number 11, Wisconsin is at Rutgers. Wisconsin is coming off a loss at Michigan. Weird one. Was that Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday. Bizarre game. We've already established there's the 2-game skid. I said recently a slide is 3 games. Wisconsin's trying to dodge the swoon. 4 straight losses is a swoon, folks. Can Bucky avoid the swoon at Rutgers at the rack? Noon tip on Saturday. Keep an eye out for it. Just worth a drive-by, worth a check-in. 12:30 Eastern on Fox. Number 19, Creighton at Xavier. Let's see if Xavier can get the win. Gonna have to take a look. Take a look at Xavier's resume if they can win this game at home. they're maybe closer to the tournament conversation than people realize, but you got to win the game at home. I'll cruise through here. Huge Ivy GP, 12th in Ken Pom. Highest rank ever, just like last year. 2 undefeated teams. If the Saturday wasn't so loaded, I just went to Yale last weekend. I might do this again. 17-3 Cornell at 15-6 Yale, both undefeated in the league play. That's a 2 Eastern game. That's an awesome Ivy League tip. Wanted to give them a little bit of love here. Providence at Butler, 2 Eastern on FS1. Providence overcoming just an incredible triple overtime win against Creighton earlier in the week. Kim English's team has a shot. That's an awesome Big East affair with that's a bubbly game right there. And Devin Carter is a freaking monster, man. Him and Josh Oduro, who had like 32 in that game. Providence at Butler, 2 Eastern FS1. That is appointment viewing, no doubt about it. Also at 2 Eastern, TCU at 14th ranked Iowa State on ESPN2. Auburn fans, here's your love. You beat Bama earlier in the week. You're at Florida, 3:30 Eastern on SEC Network. I thought it was a very impressive, although a physical and like foul-infested affair. There were like 61 fouls in that game, Parrish. But I thought that the way that Auburn approached the game and made it a no doubt about it win was really impressive. I want to give you just a quick room for chat here on Auburn. Where do you have the Tigers ranked now? And any just leftover thoughts about what they did? Because that was obviously the biggest game of Wednesday night.
I have them 11th in the top 25 and 1. They're obviously good. Computer numbers strong. Resume's still just not quite there. I mean, they've got a bunch of quad 2 wins, but they only have 2 quadrant 1s. As I pointed out in the top 25 and 1, they are the only team, I believe, in the top 20 of the top 25 and 1 with fewer than 3 quadrant 1 wins. But, you know, they're tied for first with Alabama and South Carolina atop the SEC standings. How about this? I talked to Bruce Pearl yesterday, and in advance of that conversation, I was just going through some numbers. He's the 20th coach in Auburn basketball history. There were 19 before him. Those 19 combined in more than 100 seasons of Auburn basketball to win 3 conference championships total. 19 coaches, more than 100 years of Auburn basketball, they won 3 conference championships. Bruce Pearl right now is tied for first in the SEC, and if they win this title, share it or win it outright, Bruce Pearl will have 3 SEC titles in the past 7 years.
It's a hell of a nugget right there. That is a huge, folks, that is a huge nugget from Gary Parrish. That's good stuff right there. Wow. 3 in 7 years, 3 in 100+ years. Pearl's doing a good job, man. That was a big time win. Auburn at Florida. Florida bubble team. Big time opportunity for the Golden team. 3:30 Eastern SEC Network. Number 3 Carolina is at Miami. 4 Eastern ESPN. Just maybe check in. That's all. I would think Carolina will win, but it's on the road. We'll see. Miami has hit some tough times as of late. Number 5, Houston at Cincinnati is another just check in on it. Cincinnati, bubble team. There's a lot of teams that are like bubble teams that have advantageous. We're going to be talking on the show Saturday night, by the way. We'll get to that before we get out of here. So many road teams on the road, GP, against unranked competition. We got 2 top 10 teams on the road against unranked opponents. We know how that's gone this season. Carolina at Miami, 5th ranked Houston at Cincinnati, both at 4 Eastern on Saturday. Keep an eye on that. Mentioned Washington State. We will give the Cougars some real love on our next show if they can go and win at Oregon, 5 Eastern. Pac-12 network. Gosh, you hate to see it truly, but Washington State on the road and will be unquestionably in the field if it can get for the moment, if it can win a game in the woods there. Keep an eye on that. Marquette's at home against St. John's, 6 Eastern FS1 on Saturday. Marquette 7th in the country, should win, but St. John's, another bubble team, another big spot. A lot of these games on Saturday, folks. Tennessee at A&M, 8 Eastern ESPN. You have yet another top 10 team on the road against an unranked opponent. Keep an eye on that. And then 10 Eastern FS1, Boise State at number 22, Utah State. Another must-see Mountain West affair as those teams try and continue to get themselves in a better seed situation. Our and 1 pick Saturday, 10 Eastern on Askia Booker Court.
Okay.
It is number 8 Arizona coming off a 55-minute game. On the ski trip, by the way. So the old Utah to Colorado. I'd love to do it myself one day. The old ski trip Pac-12 assignment at Colorado. Ken Pom has Arizona in this game, -3. I will be intrigued to see what the actual line is. A reminder, we're doing this on Friday. The lines will come out later in the day. We don't have them from FanDuel just yet. Colorado is a quality team. They're 16-7. They are coming off a win at home, 82-70 over Arizona on Thursday night. They've got some real ballers here, but nonetheless, it's going to be on their home floor. I think this team's going to the tournament, and it's a dog on its floor. Who do you got in this game?
I'm going to take Colorado at home. What's the number again?
It's Zona -3.
I'll take the +3 with a home underdog. I just think Coach Prime's doing really nice things there.
How dare you disrespect Tad Boyle? That's unacceptable.
I would not do that. I'm just, my comment was independent of Tad.
Okay, was it? All right.
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem that way.
Well, it was.
Any other thoughts, or?
Nope, that's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
Just winning on the run. I mean, if you want to, there is a pattern that has developed in this year. Colorado is an NCAA tournament-ish team, right?
I won't even say ish. I think they're going to get there with room to spare. But in the moment, maybe
we have seen consistently this year is top 10 teams go on the road and play unranked but likely NCAA tournament teams, and they get caught all the time. So given that and the fact that you'll give me 3 points, I'll just take the 3 points.
All right, GP, we're going to wrap this show in really a quick minute here. GP has notified me that it is raining in his parts of the country. It is also raining where I'm sitting here up in Connecticut. He's got to get to his studio. But a quick note on this and quick programming note. This is a 10 Eastern game. We are going to podcast Saturday night because we got Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to give you a Saturday night recap pod. So if you're going to be around, please join us live on YouTube. We'd love to get a real crew rallied here. And if you normally can't or don't watch the show, check in with us. We'll go live shortly after 10 p.m. Eastern when this game's going on. But this is must-watch stuff. KJ Simpson is averaging 19.4 points per game. He might be the most underrated player in the country. But him, Tristan Da Silva, Cody Williams, NBA prospect to the max, younger brother of Jalen Williams from the OKC Thunder. They've got dudes across the board. I think Colorado's in and going to get in comfortably, but I'd like to see them back up my opinion here and show up and beat an Arizona team that really needed an escape hatch to get out against Utah. So I agree with you. I'm going to take Colorado in this spot. And since we're going to go on Saturday night, I think I said previously we'd pick Super Bowl for Final Four and 1, but let's save that. We'll save our Super Bowl picks and musings for late Saturday because that show will be live and into the feeds well in advance of the game kicking off on Sunday. That is your Friday episode. That is your Final Four and 1, and get ready. Plenty of stuff across the board. As I said, noon to midnight, we got good games, bubble games, big impact stuff. This is a solid Saturday here as we all gear up for the big one on Sunday.
I'm taking Taylor Swift.
We'll get to that on Saturday's show.
Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry and Medfintigo. He's a legend. Shouts to Huck and Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching, listening to Eye on College Basketball Podcast. Not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple and Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments.
Shouts to Devin Hester, by the way.
Who is us? That's a us right there.
He's got a Taylor Swift shirt on. If you aren't
That's
watching.
a us. She's a us.
Okay, I can only presume so. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that's the situation. Yes, Taylor Swift is one of us. Yes,
she has a long list of ex-lovers.
Yes,
she said that herself.
Yeah,
that makes her us.
Yeah,
she's one of us. I knew she was. We'll talk to you again on Saturday night. Till then, take care.